Welcome to the Gaming Lounge. We've got full reviews this week of Black Ops 2, Hitman Absolution, cheap gaming, classic gaming, and multiplayer tips for BF3. But first, game news. The PS4 has been revealed. We didn't actually see the console, but we saw a controller and some amazing gameplay footage. The controller has been redesigned. It's now got a touchpad on the front of it and also has a new share button and has move functionality like the move wands on the top of the controller. The share button will instantly send YouTube clips of gameplay footage you've just played straight up to the net, straight up to YouTube or Facebook, so you can brag to your friends straight away about your latest achievement in a game. We saw footage from new Killzone game, Killzone Shadowfall, which looked amazing thanks to the 8 gig of DDR5 RAM that the system is packing. DDR5 RAM is much faster than your standard DDR3 RAM, and it's looking like it's got some very impressive specs. We'll have a full in-depth discussion on the PS4 in the next episode, so look out for that. And meanwhile at CES, Sony was pushing their 4K TVs. We still don't know how that'll tie in with the PS4, whether it'll actually be able to output 4K, but it will be interesting to see. Sony is setting up a streaming service to combat the lack of 4K content, but it's unlikely we'll see them getting a mainstream pickup anytime soon because sets are costing around 25 grand and there's still no 4K Blu-ray standard. 4K is an ultra high resolution, roughly 4 times the size of your good old 1080p. Meanwhile, IllumiRoom was being pushed by Microsoft. It projects game images onto the walls around you in your living room. It supposedly enhances immersion, but having game images projected onto what is clearly still my TV unit, I think I would find distracting rather than getting me into the game more. It'll be interesting to see whether this makes it into the Xbox 720. Valve was showing prototypes of its Steam box at CES. There's multiple versions available, from small tiny little cubes that pack a lot of power to larger, more home theater style PC boxes. They run Steam on a Linux platform straight through HDMI into your TV, get on your wireless controllers and sit back on your couch and enjoy Steam's complete library of games. It's sure to worry Microsoft with their current stranglehold with having Windows basically needed to play all your latest high-end PC games, and Linux being able to run all these Steam games through the Steam box is sure to be a concern for them. There's a relatively expensive entry point to these though. They're quite expensive due to the lack of mass production that someone like Sony or Microsoft has. So it'll be interesting to see how well they can break in just with their high-end specs alone and the large library that Steam has. So Hitman Absolution, it's been a long time since the last Hitman game, blood money on the last generation of consoles, and they've updated some mechanics to the newer modern times but kept the core gameplay of Hitman intact. It's more of an involved storyline this time around that's not executed very well, with weird characters, and it means that many levels just involve getting to a certain point to progress the story, which is a criticism from the old Hitman games. Many of the vocal supporters of those old games saying that there's less of the assassination areas where you can go off and explore and find certain ways to go about taking down your target that are going to be more discreet. Whereas now you're just trying to get through levels, sneaking your way through or shooting your way through in a linear fashion with no real branching paths to go about tackling that objective. At times though you do come into more open areas and you are given that classic Hitman gameplay of going up to a target and deciding how you're going to take him down, usually by getting into disguise. The times where it looks like an accident is your classic Hitman kill, and you can walk away unscathed and undetected as all the chaos ensues around you. As you can see in this gameplay, I set up explosives on the car and then drew attention to the car so that the target would go toward it, and then triggered the explosives and moved away without any suspicion being drawn to myself.
Hello?
There are other situations such as where you're in a disco or nightclub and there's a dodgy mirror ball that's hanging over a dance floor. You can draw attention to that area, send the target over there, and then trigger the dodgy mirror ball to turn back on just at the time that he heads underneath it. Have the mirror ball drop down, looks completely like an accident, and you can walk away scot-free. The NPC dialogue is well written and quite interesting, giving you insights as to what they're thinking, and sometimes can be quite funny in reaction to your odd movement, moving around stealthily in plain sight.
Someone's 2 cans short of a 6-pack over here.
The disguise system is being criticised for being too easy to get detected by one of your fellow policemen or whoever you're trying to disguise yourself as at the time. Basically, you have to trigger instinct mode to get past without getting noticed, and if you don't, then they're going to notice you're an imposter, even though that would be really implausible to have them have that perception to be able to realise that you're not one of them and immediately bust you on the spot. Instinct mode can be also used for multiple takedowns, and it's also a cover system, which basically together they combine to get you through a sticky situation when you do get detected, and you generally can shoot your way out, which is not the classic Hitman gameplay, but it does make it a bit easier for newcomers to the series. Contracts mode is where you can take levels from the main game and set different assassination targets for people around the world to have a go at trying to complete themselves. You can set multiple targets, whether you have to remain undetected the entire mission, whether maybe you have to stay in your trademark suit the entire mission, but the catch is you need to complete that contract yourself. So you then need to do the gameplay, actually complete the mission to be able to say online, hey, I've finished this, it's a true contract that can be done, and have a go at doing it yourself. This contracts mode goes a long way to quell the issues with the linear nature of a lot of the missions. Many of the fans have complained about the lack of areas where you can branch off and look for disguises and ways to take your assassination target down. Really get appeased with this contracts mode, which enables you to set a lot of these large areas as many times as you like, and you can try as many different ones from players around the world as you want and try to complete them all. The graphics are great, it's very detailed and looks amazing cranked up on a high-end system. It's come a long way from the last generation of consoles, and if you want to just see Hitman updated to the next level, then this is definitely worth a look. One of the amazing things is the crowd mechanic. There's large crowds that you can blend into, and these crowds are amazing simply that there's that many AI characters on screen at one time being rendered, and they all look unique. They all look like they're individual people, assets haven't been repeated, and it's really amazing to see. Overall, the contracts mode helps address the non-linear nature of some of the missions. The story is a bit of a letdown and it's forced on you a bit too much at times, but overall it's a nice experience, and if you're a fan of the Hitman games and want to see how it's been pushed forward to this generation of consoles, then it's definitely worth taking a look. Now we have Clip of the Week Turret Anthem from Portal 2 using the Source Filmmaker. It's really amazing to see what they can do with the Source Filmmaker now. The cinematography here is excellent, the sound design ties it all together, and it can be found on YouTube at Portal 2 Turret Anthem, and here's a short clip of it now, check it out. Okay, so Black Ops 2, it's the 7th Call of Duty game, but it's still breaking sales records despite being pretty much the same game it was at Call of Duty 4 many games ago. They've tried to change it up with a near future setting. It jumps back to the Cold War period from the first Black Ops into a future setting and back again. And the setting changes do keep it feeling fresh, even though you're still doing the same kind of shooting gallery stuff. The story is decent and pretty well told, but with all the over-the-top action set pieces, it's pretty hard to take it seriously. You're still following an AI character or indicator through linear levels. It branches off in parts, and some sections allow a moral choice which affects the ending, which is pretty cool. The engine's beginning to show its age. We'll see a new engine in the new generation of consoles, but as it stands at the moment, it just keeps feeling too familiar, no matter how much they try to change up the assets and the setting changes. They basically don't want to change the feel of the game and how fast-paced and fluid the action is, which switching to a new engine may change, for the worse or for the better. Multiplayer is your standard Call of Duty formula. They really haven't changed it up much, although they've tried to increase the team aspect with kill streaks being changed to score streaks. So anything you do, from a flag assist to a kill assist to capturing the flag to capturing a base, it's all going to give you points toward your kill streaks, or as they're now called, score streaks. So this encourages teamwork a bit more, but you'll still find the lone wolves running rampant in the levels, because you can still get quite a decent score just getting kills and kill assists. As usual, the big benefit is a heap of game modes and such a large community that you're going to find a great game in any of those game modes at any given time. There's heaps of Australian servers, heaps of people playing, and always a good connection. So overall, if you're just looking for some more Call of Duty multiplayer maps and a bit of a setting change for the single player, and you're still not tired of it, then I'll definitely recommend it. Go ahead and jump right in. It's the same sort of stuff you love, just amped up over the top a bit more with some enhanced community features and sharing for your YouTube clips made easier this time around. But if you're growing tired of the old Call of Duty formula, you're not really going to find anything to make you jump back in here. It's really the same sort of stuff that it has been the last few games, and I'd recommend a wait for the new generation of consoles and a new generation of Call of Duty. So multiplayer tips for BF3, I like to go Assault or Engineer. I know the other classes can be useful, your Sniper and your Support, but I just like to run with those classes because they suit my playstyle. You can really heal yourself with the Assault, that's basically the medic class. It's good for close quarters because, as I say, you can heal yourself, you can heal your teammates, keep your squad going forward and keep them alive at capture points and MCOM stations. An engineer who can repair the tanks and vehicles you're getting around in, and has rockets to take down other tanks and other vehicles that are annoying you or getting in your way. With Assault, for the small range close quarters maps from the close quarters expansion or just interior areas of buildings, I like to use the P90. It's a really great close quarters weapon. You can oftentimes take down 2 or 3 guys in one clip because it has a high magazine, I think around 100 rounds. It fires through it pretty quick, but you can definitely take down 2 or 3 guys before you run out of bullets. For longer range, I like to use the L85A2. It's a really nice long range weapon with a 4x scope on it. You can really do a bit of sniping at long range, and it still works nicely in medium range and is light enough to swing around in close quarters when you do end up in those buildings' interior situations. For the Engineer class, the G36C is a nice starting weapon. You get that pretty much straight away, and you can unlock some nice things for it. The suppressor works well with the foregrip, really keeps it controlled. It's a nice mid-range weapon. You can use it close range, and it's just a nice feeling weapon. Definitely one to use until you unlock something in one of the expansion packs. The ACWR from one of the expansions, I forget which one, but it's basically a nice mid-range weapon again, but can work pretty well at long range too. It's again got a good feel to it. Probably not so much the suppressor on that one or the foregrip. You really don't need it. You can get some long range kills nicely just with the stock weapon, but definitely with a red dot scope or something like that, you can really do some damage with this weapon. So general tips, when going up to flags and MCOMs, don't rush straight in, you're just going to get yourself killed. There's always going to be a surprise waiting for you, someone defending the point that you haven't seen. So it's best to flank around, take your time getting around the objective, skirt around the outside, take them out from behind and from the side, flank the whole area, make sure it's clear, and then move in and capture your flag or plant your MCOM. Get in a squad and stick with your squad. It's definitely great for teamwork, even if you're not communicating with a headset. It's definitely good to spawn on them and stick together as a tight little group. Put down ammo packs, med packs, use your defibrillators to keep them alive, get them back in the game and keep your squad moving forward. Definitely in something like Rush where you're running out of tickets, it definitely works well because it refunds your team a ticket, keep that in mind. Revive as much as you can if you're assault class. In general, take things a little slower than your Call of Duty run and gun sort of style. Make sure you take your time, flank enemies, get in vehicles where you can. If you're in a tank, get a gunner. He can take care of infantry around you who can fire rockets. Take care of C4 guys that are trying to plant C4 on your tank, which can always ruin your day. Get in the squad, communicate, play the objectives, and that way you'll turn the tide of the battle and ultimately win the match.
Enemy helicopter spotted. Over. We have taken the objective. I repeat, we have taken the objective.
So for cheap gamer, we have Hawken and Mirror's Edge. Hawken is a free-to-play mech game that's currently in open beta. It's got faster mechs than something like your Mech Warrior, and it's not really trying to be a sim. It's more of an arcade style game. The mechs still have good weight to their movement and their weapons, even though they can boost side to side and up into the air with this boost move that they have. Most fights come down to using this boost to shift in and out of cover, and then getting back into cover to repair your mech with a little repair bot that flies out and repairs all around you. However, you really have to be tactical in where you place yourself to repair, as you're totally vulnerable as you do this, and you can definitely be taken down as you're trying to repair yourself back up. You start with a basic assault class middleweight mech that basically looks like an old TV on legs, and it's hilariously called the CRT. There are also heavy and light mechs that you can unlock, but these will take hours and even days and days of gameplay to unlock unless you actually spend some real money. Once you do this though, you're able to be competitive and fulfill a role, so be a heavy mech that moves slower but has heavier firepower and can really back up the lightweight guys that are moving forward in the front, or be a lightweight scout, can move around quickly, has less penetrating weapons but can shift easily and get in and out of cover to gradually wear down some of those heavier mechs, and also get to objectives faster and capture or take them down. So for modes, there's your standard deathmatch and team deathmatch, and then objective based modes, siege and missile assault. Missile assault is a domination style capturing flags type mode, where instead of capturing flags, you're capturing missile silos that then fire continually missiles into the enemy base. The aim is to obviously hold more of these missile silos than your enemy to ultimately win the match. Siege has fairly complex rules where you're trying to get to the middle of the map to collect energy, which then you bring back to your base to send a ship flying over to the enemy base and bombarding it with its weapons until the next wave, where you have to collect energy again and get enough to send the next ship over. Usually this switches momentum, where once you've got an assault down pat on the enemy base, they'll have almost enough energy they need to do the same thing themselves, which keeps it pretty balanced, and you really want to understand what you're trying to do with the objectives here. A lot of people don't understand completely what's going on, as there are fairly complex rules, and that can be annoying. But once you do get into a good team that knows what they're doing and knows how to play the objective, you really can have a good time here, and this is really where Hawken shines. You only need around a $10 spend to unlock a fair bit of content and a fair few mechs in the main game here, and that's not a heap to ask for the amount of hours that you could potentially clock in. There's about 6 maps currently, and they're planning to expand this with more maps and potentially more game modes. So it's definitely worth getting in on the ground floor here with the open beta, and you get trials of free mechs that you can try for around a week and see if you like it, and then spend some real money securing that into your mech garage to have for the rest of the time you're playing the game. Ultimately, the open beta is free, so you really can't hesitate to check it out if you've got a PC and you're into mech combat games or fast-paced combat games in general, it's definitely worth a look. And then just put in some money if you really like it, and enjoy your time online with it. So Mirror's Edge, it was released a few years ago, and you can find it for really bargain basement prices now, either on Steam or in a bargain bin at your local game store. It's worth a look simply because it's so different to what's around at the moment. It's first person, except it's not a shooter game. It's actually a free running simulator or parkour simulator. You play as basically a parkour expert. You're running, jumping and vaulting over objects, trying to get from point to point as quickly as possible, delivering objects often in hot pursuit by the police. The first person's perspective is very immersive, and you see your hands and legs out in front of you as you make your moves, clamber on ledges, jump massive gaps and run along walls and generally defy gravity. Some people have complained of motion sickness with the amazing amount of immersion that you get as you run along this world in a first person perspective, but for people who don't find an issue with that, like myself, it's really just adds to the fun here. It has a decent story set in an ironically oppressive dystopian world, but what really shines through here is the visual style. Clean whites and clean basic renders are in stark contrast to red and blue items that you can see that are cues in the game world of what that you can interact with and what you can jump to and clamber on, and this is called runner vision. You have vault, slide moves, wall running, jumping massive gaps, and it's all controlled with basically an up and a down action. So it's basically variants on that are contextual based on what you're doing at the time. There's a key you can press to spin you around in the direction that you're meant to be heading in, but I find it's best, especially on the first playthrough, to leave this off and just head through the world not knowing where you really need to get to next, but just bursting out of an interior area into a wide open space and swing around, desperately trying to find where you need to be heading to, and then run in that direction and see how you go. It's quite a short game, can probably be clocked in around 6 hours or so, but this is bolstered by a time trial mode where levels in the main game you're trying to get through as quickly as possible, and you can compare your times to other people online. The music is great and really suits the visual style and the overall tone they were going for. It ramps up just in the right moments when you're starting to get pursued by police, and really again adds to the immersion in this clinical world. There is combat, but it's quite finicky, but this befits the character that you are. You're not a one-man army first person shooter hero. You're just someone trying to get from point to point to deliver these packages, and you're getting pursued by the police. They can fire at you, but you just keep on running. If you do actually have to take them on, then the best way is to take them one by one. You try to get close to them and they'll try to gun butt your character, and you'll have an indicator when you can take their gun from them, disarm them and take them down. Then you can use their gun for great and worth cranking up on a high-end PC. It has some extra visual touches that weren't present in the 360 and PS3 versions. So if you can get your hands on the PC version, that's definitely the one to go for. And keyboard and mouse control works surprisingly well. I was starting with the gamepad, using that for most of the game, and then I saw on forums that a lot of people just use mouse and keyboard and they actually find that more precise and works a lot better, and I gave it a go and I haven't looked back. It's really the control method to go here. Overall, it's such a different game that it's really worth a look, and especially at these bargain basement prices, you really can't go wrong. There's rumours of a sequel for the next generation of consoles, but definitely get in here, have a look at it now before it gets amped up with even greater graphics and a visual style in the next round of consoles. So that's it for the Gaming Lounge for this week. Be sure to tune in next week for our wrap up of the PS4 reveal from New York. It's going to be going into detail on all the game trailers that were shown, what this thing can actually do, the specs, the 8 gig of DDR5 RAM, what this means for AI, larger worlds, and these awesome graphics that we're going to be seeing out of this system. how Microsoft's going to compete, whether they can match these specs, and it's all very exciting. So definitely catch that next week and see you next time. Cheers.